Do you think jokes from over 140 years ago are still funny today? Will they hit their mark and make you laugh? The newspaper today has a lot of humorous gleanings and a bit of wisdom. So, let's read a newspaper together. Today's paper is the Oregon State Journal, dated April 7th, 1883. Humorous gleanings. A newly married Detroit clergyman took for his text, "She pleaseth me well." It is evident that the good man's mother-in-law is yet to arrive. An Iowa editor has been asked by a correspondent for an answer, "Do hogs pay?" Looking over his subscription list, he finds they do not. You may say what you please, but there is luck in horseshoes. A man nailed one up on the fence not long ago, and a week afterward, his wife, who used to wear out the furniture on him, eloped with a friend to whom he was owing $40. So he got rid of two encumbrances at once. One sultry Sunday, a minister was thundering away at his drowsy congregation, the majority of which would go to sleep in spite of all his efforts. At last he shouted, "Wake up here! There is a man preaching to you who only has half a shirt on his back." It woke them tremendously. The next day, a delegation of ladies visited the parsonage and presented the preacher with a package containing some very nice shirts, saying that it was a shame that he should be reduced to half a shirt to his back. He replied, after accepting the shirts with thanks, that he was not literally reduced to a half a shirt. Although he wore only a half on his back, he wore the other half in front of him. Ayer's Hair Vigor, for restoring gray hair to its natural vitality and color. It is a most agreeable dressing, which is at once harmless and effectual for preserving the hair. The Vigor cleanses the scalp, cures and prevents the formation of dandruff, and by its cooling, stimulating, and soothing properties, it heals most, if not all, of the humors and diseases peculiar to the scalp, keeping it cool, clean, and soft, under which conditions diseases of the scalp and hair are impossible. The London Society says E.A. Southern, the celebrated Lord Dundreary, was invited to two houses one evening. One entertainment was a party of grown-ups, the other of children. Southern considered it would be a capital joke if he entered the drawing room full of children on all fours and pretended to be a bear. When the footman announced Mr. Southern, the actor carried out his intention to the no small amusement of the assembled guests. He had mixed up the two houses and found himself in the center of wonder-stricken grown-ups. Another time, Southern gave a dinner party to about a dozen men. One of the guests, whom we will call Thompson, was late. They had just sat down to their soup when a loud ring announced the arrival of the late Mr. Thompson. Southern hastily exclaimed, "Let us all get under the table." Fancy Thompson's surprise when he beholds a long table devoid of guests. Southern's love of practical joking was well known, so that the company were not astonished at the proposition, and in a couple of seconds every man was concealed from view beneath the table. Southern made a half dive, then resumed his place at the head of the table. Thompson entered, stared, and exclaimed, "Hello! Where are all the fellows?" Southern shook his head in a lugubrious fashion and in melancholy tones replied, "I can't explain it, my dear fellow, but the moment they heard your name, they all got under the table." The expression on the faces of the hoaxed guests as they emerged one by one from their concealment can be better imagined than described. Bits of Governor Cleveland of New York are causing much distress to a certain class of his friends. He walks from his residence to the Capitol and thus saves carriage hire. Always shaves himself, does not entertain much, and evidently doesn't mean to spend more than $3,000 of his $10,000 salary. Recipe for cracker pudding. Take 3 soda crackers, roll fine, 1 pint of milk, the yolks of 2 eggs, 1/2 cup of sugar and a little salt. Bake half an hour. Then beat the whites of 2 eggs, add sugar, season with lemon, pour over the pudding, set in the oven and brown delicately. It needs no sauce. The Princess of Wales, now in her 38th year, is described as looking scarcely a day older than when, 19 years ago, she stood at the altar by the side of her young husband. It's just wonderful how being a princess prevents people from observing that one grows old. Wit and humor. The new nickel will be larger than the old one, but it won't buy any more beer. The man whose opinion is of no value is always trying to give it away. No matter if the postage is reduced, it's just as much trouble to lick a 2-cent stamp as a 3-cent one. Silk handkerchiefs and sore throats. Sore throats vanish when encircled in a silken kerchief. This is established beyond peradventure. The grandmothers knew all about this 100 years ago. They believed, too, that silk would cure all other diseases, and some of them thought it would heal a broken leg, if only taken in time. Here is a sure recipe. When you have the throat trouble, give a nice clean silk handkerchief to your sweetheart with a request to tie it around your neck. If you are not cured or choked by tender hands, we have made a mistake. The more expensive the kerchief, the surer the cure, because your pet takes so long to examine the quality and to get it just right so it won't hurt. Try it and go home cured. We expect silk handkerchiefs will advance in price when this matter is understood. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, would you like to buy a horseshoe ring like in the article? In my descriptions, you'll see a handy link to this man's horseshoe ring or this lady's horseshoe ring. Maybe it'll bring you some luck. Farewell. I hate to see you go. See you next time.